In 1990, a high school dropout working as a barber for $8 an hour made a decision that would turn him into a millionaire. But here's the twist. He never started a business, never invented anything, and never won the lottery. What he did was so simple that most people ignore it completely. This is his story. Meet Ronald Read. Born in rural Vermont in 1921, Ronald grew up during the Great Depression. His family was so poor that he couldn't afford to finish high school. At 17, he dropped out and started working as a farmhand, making less than $1 a day. After serving in World War II, Ronald returned home and got a job pumping gas at a service station. The pay? About $40 a week. In 1963, he upgraded to become a part-time janitor and barber. For the next 40 years, Ronald cut hair and swept floors. He never earned more than $20,000 a year in his entire life. His colleagues described him as quiet, frugal, and unremarkable. He drove the same beat-up truck for decades. He wore the same flannel shirts until they had holes. He never took vacations. To everyone who knew him, Ronald Read was just a simple, poor janitor living paycheck to paycheck. But they were all wrong. What nobody knew was that Ronald had a secret hobby. Every morning before work, he would walk to the local library and read the Wall Street Journal. He studied companies, analyzed dividends, and took careful notes. Starting in his 20s with just a few $100s, Ronald began buying stocks. But not tech stocks or hot tips. He bought boring, dividend-paying companies. Companies that made soap, food, and basic products people need every day. His strategy was laughably simple. Buy quality companies when they're cheap, reinvest every dividend, and never sell. That's it. No day trading, no options, no crypto. Just patience and discipline. While his co-workers spent their paychecks on new cars and vacations, Ronald invested every spare dollar. He clipped coupons, fixed his own car, and packed his lunch every single day. His neighbors thought he was just cheap. In reality, he was building something extraordinary. For 70 years, Ronald followed the same routine: work his modest job, live below his means, buy more stock. Compound interest began working its magic. $1,000 became $2,000, then $5,000, then $50,000. The snowball was rolling. In 2014, Ronald Read died at age 92. His family knew he had some savings, but they expected maybe $50,000 to $100,000. When the lawyers read his will, the room went silent. Ronald Read, the janitor and part-time barber who never earned more than $20,000 a year, had accumulated a fortune worth $8 million. $8 million. His secret? He owned stock in over 95 different companies. Johnson & Johnson, Procter & Gamble, JP Morgan, all household names. He had bought these stocks decades earlier and simply held them, reinvesting dividends the entire time. But here's where the story gets even better. Ronald didn't keep this money for himself. He left $6 million to his local hospital and library, the same library where he had spent decades studying the stock market. The hospital administrator was in shock. The library director cried. This quiet janitor, who most people never noticed, had just made one of the largest donations in Vermont history. So what can we learn from Ronald Read's story? 3 powerful lessons. First, your income doesn't determine your wealth. Ronald never made much money, but he became wealthier than most doctors and lawyers. It's not what you earn, it's what you keep and invest. Second, time and patience beat intelligence and luck. Ronald wasn't a Wall Street genius. He didn't have insider information. He just started early and never stopped. He let compound interest do the heavy lifting for 70 years. Third, boring strategies work. Everyone wants the hot stock tip or the next Bitcoin. Ronald bought soap and ketchup companies and became a millionaire. Consistency beats excitement every single time. Think about this. If Ronald could turn a janitor's salary into $8 million, what's your excuse? You probably earn more than he did. You have better resources. You have the internet, free investment apps, and access to more information than he could ever imagine. The question isn't whether you can build wealth. Ronald proved that anyone can. The question is, will you have the discipline to do it? Ronald Read worked until he was 90 years old, not because he had to, but because he wanted to. He lived a simple, quiet life and died one of the richest men in Vermont. Not bad for a high school dropout who cut hair for a living. If this story inspired you, hit that subscribe button. Because next week I'm telling you about the UPS driver who became even richer using the same strategy. You won't believe how he did it.